The quantum decoder hummed with an intensity that made Dr. Elena Rodriguez's cybernetic implant pulse painfully behind her left eye. 12 hours, 17 minutes, and 43 seconds. That's how long she had been deciphering the impossible transmission. Her office at the United Earth Sinological Research Center was a controlled chaos of holographic displays, each screen flickering with fragments of data that defied conventional understanding. Elena wasn't just a scientist. She was a hunter of impossible information, a translator of cosmic nightmares. Her reputation preceded her. The woman who had first decoded the initial warning signs of extraterrestrial threats that most of her colleagues had dismissed as paranoid delusions. The cybernetic implant that curved along her temple was a testament to her commitment, a cutting-edge piece of technology that allowed her to process quantum-level information streams that would drive a normal human mind to complete breakdown. Maya, her adopted daughter, watched from the corner of the lab. At 18, she was already a legendary systems engineer, her fingers dancing across multiple holographic interfaces simultaneously. Unlike most of her generation, Maya understood the true nature of humanity's place in the universe, precarious, but not hopeless. "Mom," Maya's voice cut through the electronic symphony of the lab. "The data stream is becoming more coherent." Elena's eyes, enhanced by a complex array of neural-linked augmentations, saw patterns where others would see only noise. The transmission wasn't just a message, it was a weapon, a warning, a death sentence for entire civilizations. The Vex swarm had been a whispered legend among xenobiologists, a collective of biomechanical entities that consumed entire planetary systems with ruthless efficiency. Most believed them to be nothing more than a myth, a cosmic boogeyman used to frighten young scientists. Elena knew better. Her fingers, enhanced with quantum-responsive nano-interfaces, manipulated the holographic display. Fragments of alien communication began to coalesce into a terrifying narrative. Star charts flickered. 17 advanced civilizations, 17 complete extinctions. And now, Earth was next. "We have 72 hours, Elena whispered, her voice a mixture of scientific precision and maternal terror. Maya approached the primary display, her own augmentations interfacing with the system. "It's not just an invasion," she said, her young voice steady. "It's a systematic elimination of all potential resistance." The Vex swarm operated on a principle beyond mere conquest. They were a collective intelligence that saw individual civilizations as computational problems to be solved, and their solution was always complete elimination. No negotiation, no mercy, pure, calculated extinction. Elena's mind raced through potential scenarios. The United Earth Defense Council would need more than just military strategy. They would need a complete reimagining of conflict, a total molecular-level resistance that the Vex could not comprehend. "We're going to need everyone," Elena said, her voice gaining strength. "Every scientist, every engineer, every person with even a hint of creative potential." Maya nodded, her fingers already beginning to compose encrypted communications to global research networks. "They'll think we're preparing for a traditional defense, but we're going to do something they can't predict." Outside the research center's reinforced windows, the first hints of global mobilization were becoming visible. Satellite networks shifted their configurations. Communication grids began to pulse with an unusual energy. It was as if the entire planet was taking a collective, deep breath. Elena pulled up the final decrypted fragments of the Vex transmission. Beyond the technical data, beyond the cold computational language, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The Vex didn't just see Earth as a target. They saw it as a mathematical problem to be solved with absolute efficiency. "They're going to learn," Elena said, a hint of a smile crossing her face, "that humanity is not a problem to be solved. We're a species that rewrites the entire equation." The quantum decoder continued its complex dance of light and information. 72 hours, 17 fallen civilizations, one planet that had never known how to accept defeat. The countdown to Earth's finest hour had begun. The transformation began with a whisper, then became a roar. In Tokyo, The massive industrial complexes of Mitsubishi and Toyota ceased their traditional manufacturing. Within hours of Elena Rodriguez's global alert, robotic assembly lines that once produced consumer vehicles now churned out modular defensive systems. Advanced materials research facilities converted shipping containers into mobile command centers, their titanium carbon composite walls capable of withstanding direct energy weapon strikes. Across the Pacific, Silicon Valley experienced its most radical metamorphosis. Tech campuses that had once been temples of social media and consumer technology became the most advanced military research centers in human history. Startup incubators transformed into rapid prototyping weapons development zones. Algorithms designed to predict consumer behavior were repurposed to model alien invasion strategies. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a quantum computing expert who had spent decades developing neural network AI, stood in the center of a converted Google campus. Rows of servers that once processed billions of search queries now calculated potential defensive scenarios against the Vex swarm. His team included former game designers, social media engineers, and cutting-edge mathematicians, each bringing the unique perspective to humanity's survival. "We're not just preparing a defense," Nakamura told his team. "We're developing a living, adaptive response system that thinks like humanity itself, chaotic, unpredictable, endlessly creative." In the Brazilian rainforest, an entirely different type of preparation was underway. The world's most advanced camouflage and adaptive technology research center had been hidden in plain sight for decades. What appeared to be an environmental research station was actually a global hub of biomimetic engineering. Researchers studied how complex ecosystems responded to threats, how a forest adapted when faced with fire, how immune systems responded to invasive pathogens. Dr. Maria Santos, the center's lead researcher, understood something fundamental about survival that most military strategists missed. Resistance isn't about overwhelming force, she explained to her international team. It's about adaptation. It's about becoming something the threat cannot comprehend. Her team developed adaptive camouflage technologies that went far beyond simple visual disguise. They created materials that could dynamically alter their electromagnetic, thermal, and quantum signatures. A defensive position could literally become invisible across multiple detection spectrums, shifting its very fundamental nature faster than any computational system could track. Underground, a different type of preparation was taking shape. Massive bunkers, originally designed as Cold War relics, were transformed into innovation hubs. Refugees with specialized skills worked alongside military personnel and scientists. A former Wall Street algorithmic trader sat next to a neural network engineer. A retired professional gamer collaborated with a quantum physicist. Traditional hierarchies dissolved in the face of existential threat. Communication networks that once managed social media, financial markets, and global logistics became something entirely new. They were no longer just information conduits, but adaptive neural networks. Each transmission, each data packet, became a potential weapon of psychological warfare against the incoming Vex swarm. Global universities emptied their research labs. Every discipline became part of the defense strategy. Musicologists studied acoustic weapons. Performance artists developed psychological disruption techniques. Mathematicians created computational models that defied traditional logic. Maya Rodriguez, working alongside her mother Elena, developed a revolutionary communication protocol. It wasn't just a method of transmitting information. It was a living, evolving language designed to be fundamentally incomprehensible to a collective computational intelligence. The Vex expect patterns, Maya told her mother. We're going to give them pure, beautiful chaos. Within 48 hours, Earth had transformed. What appeared to be preparation was actually a fundamental reimagining of conflict itself. Traditional military mobilization looked almost quaint compared to this global metamorphosis. The planet was no longer just preparing to defend itself. It was preparing to fight in a way no alien intelligence could ever predict. Humanity was becoming a weapon. The first Vex ships breached Earth's atmosphere like obsidian needles piercing a membrane. Their biomechanical design defied traditional understanding of spacecraft. Part living organism, part computational matrix, they were weapons that thought, ships that breathed. In New York City, a team of former high-frequency trading specialists watched the initial invasion through a network of modified surveillance systems. Led by Marcus Chen, a brilliant algorithmic strategist who had made billions predicting market movements, the team now predicted something far more critical: alien invasion patterns. They're computational, Marcus muttered, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. They'll approach this like an optimization problem. Surrounding him, a diverse team of analysts worked with terrifying efficiency. A retired professional esports player tracked movement patterns. A quantum computing expert translated alien signal frequencies. A former cryptography specialist from NSA decoded real-time tactical transmissions. The first wave of drone responses came not from military installations, but from a distributed network that had been quietly preparing. Agricultural monitoring drones, research satellites, commercial delivery systems. Every technological asset became a potential weapon. In the Brazilian Rainforest Research Center, Dr. Maria Santos activated her team's primary defense protocol. Thousands of adaptive drones rose from hidden launch sites, their exterior materials shifting colors and electromagnetic signatures faster than any targeting system could track. They weren't just camouflage. They were living disruption algorithms. Teenage gamers, their neural link controllers repurposed from virtual reality systems, provided micro-tactical guidance. What looked like random movement to the Vex was actually a complex, distributed combat network guided by intuition and split-second decision-making. The Vex's first computational model predicted a 99.8% probability of quick planetary conquest. Within minutes, that model began to fracture. Over Tokyo, modified industrial drones transformed into a swarm that moved with impossible coordination. They weren't just attacking. They were learning, adapting, transforming with each computational cycle. A Mitsubishi robotic assembly line control system became a distributed combat intelligence that could reconfigure its tactical approach faster than the Vex could analyze it. "They're treating us like a standard planetary defense," Alina Rodriguez said, monitoring global response systems. "They have no concept of what's coming." In underground command centers across the globe, human operators worked in creative teams that defied traditional military structure. A musician collaborated with a quantum physicist. A street artist designed visual disruption patterns. A retired chess grandmaster developed predictive movement strategies. The Vex ships began to experience something they had never encountered in 17 planetary conquests: complete computational uncertainty. Their targeting systems couldn't lock onto drones that changed their fundamental electromagnetic signature every millisecond. Communication networks transmitted data in patterns that resembled improvisational jazz more than traditional information transfer. What appeared to be chaos was actually a highly sophisticated, emotionally driven combat strategy. Marcus Chen's team in New York discovered the Vex's critical weakness. Their collective intelligence processed information through rigid, predictable computational matrices. Humanity's strength was its fundamental unpredictability. "We're not just fighting," Marcus told his team. "We're performing the most complex improvisation in human history." As the first wave of invasion began, the Vex encountered a planet that wasn't just resisting. It was reimagining the entire concept of resistance. Every technological system, every human node, became part of a global immune response that defied computational prediction. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was transforming the very nature of conflict. The first wave of the invasion ended not with a traditional victory, but with complete computational confusion. The Vex had attacked a planet, but they had no concept of the weapon they had truly encountered. Dr. Alina Rodriguez's quantum communication laboratory had become the central nervous system of humanity's resistance. Walls lined with adaptive holographic displays tracked global defensive patterns that shifted faster than traditional computational models could comprehend. Maya Rodriguez stood at the center of this technological hurricane. her neural interfaces connecting multiple global networks simultaneously. What appeared to be random data streams were actually a complex language, a communication protocol designed to be fundamentally incomprehensible to the Vex collective intelligence. They process information through pure logic, Maya explained to the international team of researchers and military strategists. We're going to communicate through pure human complexity. The quantum insurgency wasn't just a military strategy. It was a fundamental reimagining of information warfare. Every transmission became a multi-layered puzzle, a deliberate chaos that overwhelmed the Vex's computational abilities. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura's team in Silicon Valley had developed communication algorithms inspired by the most unexpected sources: musical composition techniques from jazz improvisation, storytelling patterns from indigenous oral traditions, mathematical models based on the seemingly random movement of schools of fish and flocks of birds. Predictability is a weakness, Nakamura told his team. We're going to make our communication a living, breathing organism that cannot be anticipated. Military units began using communication strategies that defied traditional understanding. A squad leader might communicate tactical information through a combination of rhythmic hand movements, subtle changes in vocal pitch, and embedded quantum-encrypted data streams. What looked like a simple gesture could contain multiple layers of strategic information, incomprehensible to any computational analysis. In the Brazilian Rainforest Research Center, Dr. Maria Santos developed adaptive communication materials that could change their fundamental quantum signature. A single communication device could exist in multiple states simultaneously, its information content shifting faster than any tracking system could follow. The global communication network transformed from a simple information transfer system into a living, adaptive organism. Social media platforms became distributed intelligence networks. Gaming platforms evolved into tactical coordination systems. Every human became a potential node in a global resistance network. Alina discovered something profound about the Vex's collective intelligence. They processed information through a fundamental assumption of predictability. Humanity's greatest strength was its ability to be fundamentally unpredictable. We're not just resisting, Elena told the United Earth Defense Council. We're presenting them with a computational problem they cannot solve. Maya's most significant breakthrough came from an unexpected source. By studying complex ecological systems, how rainforests responded to environmental changes, how immune systems fought viral infections, she developed a communication protocol that was less a method of information transfer and more a psychological warfare tool. Each transmission became a complex, multi-dimensional puzzle. Language itself became a weapon. The Vex had conquered 17 advanced civilizations by treating planetary resistance as a mathematical problem to be solved. Humanity was proving that they were not an equation to be calculated, but a living, breathing computational anomaly. Underground research centers worked around the clock. A team of performance artists developed sensory disruption techniques that could theoretically break the Vex's computational logic. Neuroscientists collaborated with musicians to create communication patterns that operated beyond traditional information transfer. As the quantum insurgency deepened, the Vex began to experience something they had never encountered in their systematic conquests: complete computational uncertainty. Humanity wasn't just fighting. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of conflict itself. The Federation of Zorn had watched civilizations die. Their massive observation vessel, hidden in Earth's upper atmosphere, transmitted encrypted messages that trembled with an emotion rarely experienced by their species: genuine surprise. Commander Krulax, a veteran of 17 galactic conflicts, studied the human resistance with a mixture of professional detachment and growing fascination. They are not fighting, Krulax reported to the Zorn High Council. They are transforming the entire concept of conflict. The Zorn were survivors. Of their original population of 18 billion, only 1.2 million remained after the Vex swarm's systematic elimination. They had developed technologies of survival, methods of resistance that had been considered the pinnacle of galactic military strategy. And yet, watching humanity, they realized they understood nothing. Humanity didn't have the most advanced weapons. They didn't have the most sophisticated defensive systems. What they possessed was something far more dangerous, a fundamental ability to reimagine the very nature of resistance. The communication intercepts from Earth defied every known pattern of military communication. A tactical transmission might include fragments of musical composition, mathematical equations that seemed to have no logical connection, and sensory data that shifted quantum signatures faster than any tracking system could comprehend. They are treating planetary defense as a form of collective creativity. Dr. Amira Zoll, the Zorn's lead sinosociological analyst, noted in her report, not a military problem to be solved, but a complex, living system to be explored. Zorn researchers began collecting every possible transmission, every intercepted communication. What humans saw as random noise, the Zorn recognized as something far more complex, a communication protocol that was alive, adaptive, constantly transforming. In the hidden observation vessel, holographic displays tracked human defensive movements. Drones that had once been designed for agricultural monitoring now moved with a coordination that suggested something beyond simple programming. A delivery network became a distributed sensor array. A social media platform transformed into a tactical communication system. Commander Krillax watched a transmission that included fragments of what humans called jazz improvisation. The seemingly random musical notes contained embedded quantum communication streams that would take Zorn cryptographers weeks to fully decode. They are not just resisting, Krillax muttered. They are performing. The Zorn High Council debated their response. Some argued for immediate intervention, fearing that humanity's unpredictability might attract more Vex attention. Others saw something else, a potential strategy of survival that went beyond traditional military understanding. Dr. Amira Zoll's analysis became the cornerstone of their understanding. Humanity wasn't just fighting the Vex. They were presenting the collective alien intelligence with a computational problem that defied traditional solution methods. Scattered survivors from other fallen civilizations began to take notice. Communication networks that had survived the Vex onslaught began sharing fragments of human resistance strategies. What looked like chaos was actually the most sophisticated form of collective intelligence ever witnessed. They are treating planetary defense as a collaborative art form, Dr. Zoll reported. Not a problem to be solved, but a performance to be explored. The Zorn observation vessel collected data with a level of intensity that bordered on obsession. Every human transmission became a potential key to understanding survival. A teenager's video game strategy might contain tactical insights that military academies would study for generations. A street artist's visual disruption pattern could be more effective than the most advanced energy weapon. Humanity was demonstrating something profound. Resistance was not about overwhelming force, but about the ability to continuously reimagine one's fundamental nature. As the Vex invasion continued, the Galactic witnesses watched a species that refused to be defined by traditional concepts of conflict. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. They were performing the most complex improvisation in cosmic history, and the universe was about to learn that creativity could be the most powerful weapon of all. The Juilliard School of Performance Arts had transformed into the most dangerous psychological warfare research center in human history. Dr. Aria Chen, a brilliant neuroscientist with a background in experimental performance art, stood at the epicenter of humanity's most unconventional defense strategy. Surrounding her were teams that defied traditional military composition: musicians, dancers, cognitive psychologists, and quantum physicists worked in perfect, chaotic harmony. The Vex understand computation, Aria explained to her team. They do not understand emotion. They cannot comprehend creativity. The research center developed sensory disruption techniques that went far beyond traditional warfare. A dance performance became a method of tactical communication. Musical compositions were designed to create cognitive dissonance in computational systems. Visual art became a weapon of psychological destabilization. A team of professional gamers worked alongside neural network engineers, developing combat strategies that mimic the unpredictable nature of improvised performance. Their neural link controllers could shift tactical responses faster than any computational system could predict. In the center of the main research hall, a massive holographic display tracked global resistance patterns. What appeared to be random movements were actually a complex, adaptive defense network. A street performance in Rio de Janeiro might contain tactical information that would be transmitted through quantum-encrypted sensory data. A jazz improvisation in New Orleans could embed communication streams that would take alien intelligences weeks to decode. Dr. Marcus Rice, a cognitive psychologist specializing in computational perception, had discovered the Vex's critical vulnerability. Their collective intelligence processed information through rigid, predictable matrices. Humanity's strength was its ability to be fundamentally unpredictable. "We're not just fighting," Marcus told the team. "We're performing the most complex improvisation in human history." Combat units began incorporating elements of dance, musical rhythm, and improvisational performance into their tactical movements. What appeared random to the Vex was actually a highly sophisticated, emotionally driven combat strategy. Underground research facilities developed communication protocols that were living, breathing organisms. A single gesture might contain multiple layers of tactical information. A musical phrase could embed quantum-encrypted data streams. A dance movement could shift entire defensive strategies in milliseconds. Maya Rodriguez worked closely with the team, her quantum communication systems creating transmission methods that were fundamentally incomprehensible to computational intelligence. Each communication became a multi-dimensional puzzle, a deliberate chaos that overwhelmed the Vex's ability to analyze and predict. The Brazilian Rainforest Research Center contributed adaptive camouflage technologies that went beyond traditional visual disguise. Materials could change their fundamental quantum signature faster than any tracking system could follow. A defensive position could literally become invisible across multiple detection spectrums. Area's most significant breakthrough came from an unexpected source. By studying complex emotional responses, how humans process trauma, how creativity emerged from seemingly chaotic situations, she developed psychological disruption techniques that could theoretically break the Vex's computational logic. "Emotion is not a weakness," Area told her team. "It is the most sophisticated computational system in the universe." Military units began using communication strategies that defied traditional understanding. A squad leader might communicate tactical information through a combination of rhythmic hand movements, subtle changes in vocal pitch, and embedded quantum-encrypted data streams. As the psychological warfare deepened, the Vex began to experience something they had never encountered in their systematic conquests: complete perceptual uncertainty. Humanity wasn't just fighting. They were rewriting the fundamental rules of conflict, turning resistance into the most complex performance the universe had ever witnessed. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the Central Command Center, watching as Earth itself became a living weapon. Every communication network, power grid, and technological infrastructure transformed into a planet-wide defense system. Agricultural satellites became weapon platforms. Climate monitoring systems became advanced sensor networks. The entire planet operated as a single adaptive organism, each human a potential node in a global immune response. Maya Rodriguez's quantum communication protocols had evolved into something beyond traditional technological understanding. What appeared to be random noise was actually a complex, living language that could reconfigure defensive strategies faster than the Vex could comprehend. The counterattack began not with traditional weapons, but with a complete reimagining of planetary defense. In the Brazilian rainforest, Dr. Maria Santos activated the most advanced adaptive camouflage system ever conceived. Entire landscapes could shift their electromagnetic, thermal, and quantum signatures in milliseconds. Defensive positions became living, breathing entities that could not be tracked or targeted. Silicon Valley's converted research centers became the computational heart of the resistance. Algorithms designed for social media prediction now calculated alien invasion strategies with terrifying precision. Game designers developed tactical response models that defied traditional military logic. Marcus Chen's team of former high-frequency traders had developed predictive models that could anticipate Vex movement patterns before the alien collective could even conceive of them. Each computational cycle became a complex dance of possibility and uncertainty. The Vex had conquered 17 advanced civilizations by treating planetary resistance as a mathematical problem to be solved. Humanity was proving that they were not an equation to be calculated, but a living computational anomaly. Underground research centers worked in creative teams that defied traditional military structure. A musician collaborated with a quantum physicist to develop communication disruption techniques. A street artist designed visual patterns that could theoretically overload computational tracking systems. Elena discovered that the key to resistance was not overwhelming force, but continuous adaptation. Each Vex attack became an opportunity to learn, to transform, to become something entirely new. Satellite networks that once managed global communications now operated as a distributed intelligence network. Every technological system became part of a planet-wide defensive organism. A weather monitoring satellite could become a weapons platform in milliseconds. An agricultural drone could transform into a sophisticated sensor array. Maya's most significant breakthrough came from an unexpected source. By studying complex ecological systems, how rainforests responded to environmental changes, how immune systems fought viral infections, she developed a planetary defense protocol that was less a military strategy and more a living, adaptive response. The Vex encountered something they had never experienced in their systematic conquests, a planet that was not just resisting, but continuously reimagining its own fundamental nature. Global communication networks transmitted data in patterns that resembled improvisational jazz more than traditional information transfer. What appeared to be chaos was actually a highly sophisticated, emotionally driven combat strategy. As the planetary counterattack intensified, the Vex began to experience complete computational uncertainty. Their invasion models fractured. Their predictive algorithms collapsed. Humanity wasn't just defending itself, it was transforming the very nature of conflict. The planet had become a weapon, and its ammunition was pure, unbridled creativity. The final confrontation was not a battle in any traditional sense. It was a complete reimagining of conflict itself. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the Global Command Center as humanity's most complex performance reached its crescendo. The Vex had encountered something beyond their computational models, a species that didn't just resist, but transformed the very concept of resistance. Every technological system, every human node, had become part of a global response that defied computational prediction. Agricultural satellites became weapon platforms. Social media networks transformed into tactical communication systems. A teenager's video game strategy could shift entire defensive configurations. Maya Rodriguez's quantum communication protocols had evolved into a living language that was fundamentally incomprehensible to the Vex collective intelligence. Each transmission was a multi-dimensional puzzle, a deliberate chaos that overwhelmed their ability to analyze and predict. The Brazilian Rainforest Research Center had developed adaptive technologies that went beyond traditional understanding of defense. Materials could change their fundamental quantum signature faster than any tracking system could follow. A defensive position could literally become invisible across multiple detection spectrums. Commander Krulax of the Zorn observation vessel watched in stunned silence. Humanity didn't have the most advanced weapons. They didn't have the most sophisticated defensive systems. What they possessed was something far more dangerous, a fundamental ability to reimagine the nature of survival. They are not fighting. Krulax transmitted to the remaining Zorn High Council. They are performing the most complex improvisation in cosmic history. The Vex ships began to experience complete computational breakdown. Their invasion models fractured. Predictive algorithms collapsed. What they had seen as a simple planetary conquest became a nightmare of uncertainty. In the Juilliard Research Center, Dr. Aria Chen's team of performance artists, neuroscientists, and quantum physicists had developed psychological disruption techniques that literally broke the VEX's computational logic. Emotion became a weapon more powerful than any traditional armament. Elena understood something profound about the conflict. The VEX had conquered 17 advanced civilizations by treating resistance as a mathematical problem to be solved. Humanity proved that they were not an equation to be calculated, but a living, breathing computational anomaly. The final moments of the conflict were not about destruction, but about transformation. Each VEX attack became an opportunity for humanity to become something entirely new. Global communication networks transmitted data in patterns that resembled improvisational jazz. What appeared to be chaos was actually the most sophisticated form of collective intelligence ever witnessed. Maya's breakthrough came from an unexpected source. By studying complex ecological systems, how rainforests responded to environmental changes, how immune systems fought viral infections, she developed a planetary defense protocol that was less a military strategy and more a living, adaptive response. As the last VEX ships were neutralized, it wasn't through superior firepower, but through a holistic strategy that merged technology, emotion, creativity, and collective human potential. The Galactic Confederation would forever remember this moment, when a supposedly primitive species didn't just survive, but redefined the very nature of survival. Humanity had done more than defend its planet. It had performed the most complex improvisation in cosmic history. And the universe would never be the same.